Champions of Champions boxing talk here. We are back, brother, to say one name. Manny Pacquiao. Let me just repeat that. Manny Pacquiao. The fight went exactly the way I predicted it. There was even an early knockdown, which I predicted. I said Keith Thurman would rally and not give up. He was absolutely really hurt with body shots late on in that fight and still kept fighting. But, you know, in a few weeks' time we could talk about Keith Thurman's performance in detail, but this primarily is Manny Pacquiao's night. This is one of the greatest victories I've ever seen in a boxing ring. He had, 5 very impressive victories already against Vargas, Bradley, beat Jeff Horn really. Lucas Matisse say that was absolutely phenomenal performance. Tonight, though, he was fighting one of the top 3 welterweights on the planet and beat him. Split decision, I don't think that was the case, but I knew it was going to be the case. If that fight was close, somebody was going to try and swing it in Keith Thurman's direction. But let me tell you something. I thought Manny Pacquiao his punches were more effective. They were the more hurtful shots. And this was against a guy who was called one time. Well, there was only one time in this fight, really, and that was Pacquiao. Thurman did throw some magnificent shots and land some to the body himself. But let me tell you something. Keith Thurman drops virtually everyone he fights. I'm not saying he knocks him out anymore, but he has dropped a lot of good fighters. What about Pacquiao's chin? For those that think that Pacquiao didn't have a chin after that Marquez knockout, think again, right? Juan Manuel Marquez is a special fighter. Just imagine Marquez and Pacquiao went back and forth when Manny Pacquiao was in his prime. But this is the greatness of this win. Pacquiao is not in his prime. Can you imagine? And he fought the nearest tonight I've seen in a long while, the way he fought against Miguel Cotto, right? Can you imagine, though, had Keith Thurman fought the Pacquiao that faced Cotto? He would have dusted Keith Thurman off in 6 rounds. And Keith Thurman has said a lot of disrespectful things. I didn't know if a loss to Manny Pacquiao, I could respect Keith Thurman after. But I can. Did you see the compliments Thurman gave Manny Pacquiao after? It was terrific. I mean, Keith Thurman did all that stuff to build the fight up, and it was a great fight. That was a great fight, right? But this win is up there with what, Hopkins did in old age, with what Muhammad Ali did with George Foreman, because there was a lot of people tonight predicting that Keith Thurman would be too strong for Manny Pacquiao. And it turned out the other way round. A lot of boxing experts thought that Keith Thurman, right, Manny Pacquiao would have to find something within himself to get back in the fight. It was the other way around. Pacquiao was landing that great right hook and jab that he did against Lucas Matisse. He was, like I said in the Adrian Broner fight, he now is starting to realise that a puncher can apply punches consistently to the body and slow the other guy's feet down. And once you do that, it's his hands v your hands. And Manny Pacquiao, though his feet are not as quick, his hands are just as quick. And he still has some power, right? He still has some power. But it's the fact that it's not Manny Pacquiao 2009 what makes this such a great victory. It's Pacquiao of 2019 that got this victory. That is a phenomenal achievement. To beat one of the 3 best welterweights on the planet on his home turf in America, right? Dave Moretti got the scorecard right as well, guys. Can you believe it? Dave Moretti. I don't know what the guy that gave it to Keith Thurman was thinking. I don't know. But the first half of the fight was clear Pacquiao for me. Keith Thurman, as I said, did rally. But it wasn't enough. I don't know what goes through the mind of great fighters. They do what they do in of themselves. I think that this is a tremendous way to retire. This is a all-time great Manny Pacquiao. In fact, he's probably climbed a few more places on those rankings. Every time he fights and wins, he beats someone younger than himself. Now is the time. If you're thinking logic, now is the time. This is one of the greatest ways in boxing history to go out, beating Keith Thurman, who again, because of his resolve, because of his Terminator-like steel, Keith Thurman is still a good fighter. Keith Thurman is still an excellent fighter. Pacquiao just beat him. Keith Thurman is elite, world-class elite, champion. Pacquiao at 40 has just beat him. Well, Errol Spence and Keith Thurman are waiting to get the fight on. Pacquiao, in the meantime, has fought and beaten Keith Thurman. You've done your part, Manny. That's my belief. Right? I didn't like the fight against Floyd Mayweather. I didn't. But they are two names, aren't they? It didn't, style-wise, it wasn't a good matchup. But if he could fight anyone now, Manny Pacquiao, I'd rather it be Floyd Mayweather than Errol Spence. Or at best, Amir Khan. I know people laugh, but that guy is still a name, and he can generate some good, ratings and revenue with Manny over in Saudi Arabia. These guys, I think, is where Manny should be looking. Right? He doesn't owe Errol Spence nothing. But I know he's going to fight Errol Spence. That's Pacquiao. That is this man. He is a decent human being, civilized office, senator, but something inside him, like all the greats, Evander Holyfield, Roy Jones Jr., something about this man. Let's give credit to Bernard Hopkins. The second to last fight he had was against Prime Kovalev. There is something about guys like Pacquiao, Hopkins, whether you like the styles or not, they just don't know when to stop. Father Time beats us all. It beat Hopkins on a split decision. Maybe Manny's the first guy in history to beat Father Time. He did tonight. But still, it wasn't the same Pacquiao. But again, that's why this is great, because but a Pacquiao that's not quite what he was can compete with elite fighters to this day. That is absolutely phenomenal. As I said, Ali beat Frazier past his prime. He beat George Foreman past his prime. He beat Kenny Norton past his prime. The fact that Ali beat those guys past his prime is why Ali is great. If he was fleet-footed and always in his prime for the next billion years, it wouldn't be that great. It'd just get boring. But it's the fact in life that when challenges like age and so forth come knocking on the door, when you see people overcoming it despite their age, it's phenomenal. Pacquiao is there with Muhammad Ali. He's there with Sugar Ray Robinson. He's there with Roberto Duran. He's there with Sugar Ray Leonard. The only guy, to win anything like the world titles Manny is Oscar De La Hoya with 6 in 6 weight classes, but Manny's got 8. And let's remember, a lineal champion in 5 weight classes. He's got as many lineal titles as Sugar Ray Leonard had ABC titles, or Floyd Mayweather had ABC titles. So, for me, it would be a historic way right now for Pacquiao to say, I'm in the history books forever. I'm one of the greatest forever. Keith Thurman said that Pacquiao is all time in the ring. He said it. I'm saying it. I haven't really talked about the breakdown of the fight because the event was so phenomenal. You know, I was just... my mouth was wide open watching that. Even though exactly what I said seems to happen. It's one thing saying it. It's another thing seeing it, right? Pacquiao is like one of the wonders of the world. One of the 8 wonders of the world, right? Imagine that we all know that the Loch Ness Monster exists. For certain. But when you see it, it would still be phenomenal. You would still look at the thing wide-eyed because it's a miracle. It's phenomenal. Pacquiao is like that. When you see the guy, he is legendary, right? He does things that human beings are not supposed to do. He's like Bruce Lee's idol, right? I don't want to see Pacquiao go out the wrong way. I'd love to see him go out this way. Or if he does take fights, he now deserves to be able to call the shots. Pacquiao is the name in the welterweight division. They all look up to him. Errol Spence will never be the first man to beat Keith Thurman now because Pacquiao has done it. Right? Mikey Garcia, a very young guy, could not beat a bigger guy in Errol Spence. A very young Mikey Garcia. Manny has just done it. Right? So, for me, Pacquiao is a phenom. And he's an example. He's an example of when a guy that can take a loss, and he's had some robberies, let's face it. You know, the commentary today was very good to Manny Pacquiao and very honest. And sometimes they haven't always been. They haven't always given him the credit. But they did say that the Jeff Horn fight was a travesty. I thought Pacquiao won. But you know something? I think Pacquiao had Keith Thurman more hurt than Jeff Horn. Didn't I say styles make fights? Keith Thurman is not Jeff Horn. Might be better than Jeff Horn, but he isn't Jeff Horn. Jeff Horn fought a younger man, you remember, as well. Didn't see Jeff Horn drop to the canvas. We did see Keith Thurman. You seen Jeff Horn take a lot of headshots and looking out of there in the 9th round. But you didn't see him suffering with body shots as Keith Thurman did. Right? I knew that this fight, because the Jeff Horn fight looked the way it did, a dirty affair, I knew this fight tonight was not going to look like that. Despite what people say, if it's a fight with Jeff Horn, Keith Thurman's going to nail him. Doesn't work like that. Life doesn't work like that. Right? Styles in boxing, they give us conundrums, don't they? Right? Do I think Keith Thurman beats Jeff Horn? Yes, I do. But it's not that simple. And I thought to myself, and I said it on Hatman's Boxing, yes, we saw a Pacquiao that wasn't at his best against Jeff Horn in Australia, but still won. That's what champions do. Sometimes when they're not having the best night, they grind the result out. That's what Manny did. He grind a win out, right? The old Manchester United teams under Sir Alex Ferguson used to do that some weeks. They didn't win every week 4-1. Some weeks it would be 1-0, and then they close up and take it. That's what Pacquiao did in Australia, right? But they didn't take into account that Keith Thurman had just had an absolute war with Lopez. But I don't think that Lopez fight affected Keith Thurman. Because Keith Thurman's shown his toughness tonight against a guy who is far more accurate than Lopez, far faster hands, far faster feet, probably has a greater engine. So think about that. And Keith Thurman was the ring rust was sort of shaved off because of the Lopez fight. I don't know. Keith Thurman can bounce back. But I don't know. Manny may have took the edge off Keith Thurman here. That was a beatdown. It was. I know Keith Thurman was competitive, but he was taking some punishment in there, right? More punishment than he's ever took before. Ever. Think about that. This guy was undefeated. This guy was a unified world champion. This guy's confidence, I don't believe now in hindsight that what Keith Thurman was saying, he wasn't confident about backing up. He is confident. He was at his best tonight, and Pacquiao beat him. And it was a unanimous decision. I agree with Dave Moretti for the first time in my entire life. It was a unanimous decision. Pacquiao takes the belt and more greatness back to the Philippines. This guy, don't ever forget him. It was a magnificent tribute to Pernell Whitaker in terms of hand speed from both men. Hand speed, defensive work, taking shots and coming back for more. I do feel something in my stomach when I see Pacquiao at 40 taking a shot now, though. I really do. But he is such an entertaining, tantalizing fighter. The Philippines must be so proud. I could see America is so proud. That national anthem that was sung for the United States, Pacquiao could easily have joined in singing that, because the United States is Manny's home too. They love him there. It's just a shame that he has never fought in his third home, and that's the UK. People in this country, they just love Manny Pacquiao. If he would give the UK, even an exhibition fight, it would... You're talking... Eddie Hearn would be delighted. Frank Warren would be delighted. The whole British Board of Boxing would be delighted. Pacquiao is home from home when he's in the United States. That crowd, as I said, if Manny has a good round, expect the crowd to be cheering, Manny, Manny. I said that in my breakdown. That's exactly what happened after the knockdown. And he really dug deep. And you could sense he was feeling that energy from the crowd. The boxing establishment is not on Manny Pacquiao's side in the United States. It's been proven. When they jobbed him against Timothy Bradley, when he was robbed in Australia v. Jeff Horn. But the public, they know what they see in America, and they appreciate greatness. We saw greatness again tonight. Remember this night as much as you remember the night that Manny Pacquiao won his 8th division world title against Margarito. Remember this night as much as you remember Manny Pacquiao against Morales, Barrera and Marquez. Remember this night as much as you remember Manny Pacquiao when he won 5 lineal titles in 5 different weight classes. Remember this night as well as you remember the time Manny Pacquiao when he defeated Adrian Broner, beating the 20th world champion of his career. Tonight, he's just beaten his 21st and one of his most impressive victories in a long time. So with that, this is Champions of Champions Boxing Talk. This is legendary. This is Manny Pacquiao. I'm out, brother.